guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you are all well. I just want to start off by apologizing for my absence. I had intended to film a few days ago, but I had been sick, and I was sick for a whole week, you guys. I could not get out of bed. I had such a sore throat. Thankfully not COVID, but yeah, it was just bad. I know there's something going on in the air right now, so a lot of people are sick. But today I really wanted to do a video I've had on my list for a while, and that is like a long-lasting full coverage foundation look. And what I'm gonna do in order to maximize the effectiveness of this video but also not make it super long is I am going to show as much as I can, but I am going to skip a lot of the blending because I feel like that adds on to a lot of the time when I am editing these videos, and then they can go on for like more than 30 minutes, which is what I'm trying to avoid. From here on out, I'm trying to keep my videos less than 25 minutes if possible, and ideally I would like this video to be under 20 minutes, but we're just going to aim for that and hopefully see how that goes. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get started. Okay, for starters, I have obviously already done my eyeshadow. I didn't think that would be necessary to show in a like full coverage foundation look because eyeshadow is not really full coverage or in terms of coverage, but I will be doing an eyeshadow look very soon. So I'm gonna go ahead and prime my skin. I'm taking the Too Faced Hangover RX primer. Almost done this, so I'm just trying to get through it. And I'm just gonna blend this out. Now, the reason I wanted to film this video is because I feel like full coverage foundation, typically because I'm dry, ends up looking very cakey on me towards the end of the day or night that I'm wearing these kind of looks too. But I feel like I've kind of perfected a way to make like full coverage look good for my dry skin. So if that is something you kind of struggle with as well, hopefully this will be of some help to you. Okay, next I'm going to go in with the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. I am using shade 4.5. This is a little dark for me, but the foundation I'm going to be using is on the lighter side. So I thought this would be a good match. Also, I am using a drugstore foundation just so you guys have some variety on this channel. I know most of my content lately has been a lot of expensive stuff, so I want to make sure that you guys know I'm being exclusive and stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and blend this in with the same brush I used for my primer. Okay, now that that's blended in, I just want to go ahead and state that this look will be for times when I have a lot of breakouts that I need to cover. Now, typically my skin is never on the perfect size where I don't need to do any extra covering, but if I'm aiming for full coverage, I go ahead and do this on an everyday day-to-day basis. I think this is really unnecessarily for me personally, but if you are someone who's interested in doing something like this, of course you can go ahead and do that. Before I do that, I'm gonna go ahead and color correct. You guys know I do this every day, and that is because I have dark circles. And while we are waiting for this to set, I'm gonna go in with a pot concealer. Now, concealers that typically come in pots are better for spot concealing just because they're more thicker or drier. So I feel like a concealer that you would typically use for your under eyes probably is going to be a little too liquidy and probably won't be best for something like this. This is just what I find works for me. So if you found something that's worked for you, keep on using that. So I'm using the NARS Soft Matte concealer in the shade Custard. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this concealer on a brush, and I'm gonna go ahead and place it on areas that I have blemishes. And I don't blend this out too much. I leave it unblended, and the reason why I do that is because I feel like when I go in to blend my foundation, this kind of blends with it anyways. So I just put it on and then not worry too much about blending. This is when you can really customize this to your own liking, because everybody's blemishes are in a different place. But right now I seem to have a big one on my nose and then one here on my cheek, and if you guys don't see them, it's because of the lighting, but I promise you there are blemishes here. The foundation I'm going to go in with is the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define Full Coverage Foundation. I have this in the shade F3. Now, as I said, this concealer is on the lighter side for me, but because I used the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless Filter in a darker shade, I can easily make this work. So I'm going to go ahead and dab. And obviously put as much as you would like on here. You do not have to do exactly the amount that I'm doing. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a long wear setting spray. This is key if you want your makeup to stick on and be long lasting. This is especially important if you are someone who is dry, because applying sprays or mist throughout your makeup process ensures that you're not getting any dryness or things aren't setting too quickly to the point of them sticking. So I'm going in with the SKINDINAVIA, the Makeup Finish finishing spray in the Bridal edition. Don't ask why I have this. I just feel like bridal stuff that's made for bridal and makeup, like wedding makeup, typically is meant to be long lasting. So obviously I have this. Now the first thing I'm going to go ahead and do is go in with a brush. I'm using the e.l.f. Angled Blush Brush. I'm going to go ahead and just tap this in place. And this is where having a dampened face from the mist, I feel like really helps my makeup blend easily as well. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and go back in with the foundation. Now, like I said, you guys, this is full coverage, so if you think this is a lot, it's because it is. This is what I do if I need full coverage. So now that I have that on, I'm gonna go in with a sponge. This is just gonna help to get rid of any of the streakiness that the brush may have left behind, but it is also going to add coverage instead of taking it away, because sponges typically do pick up more like product than a brush does. So I'm gonna go ahead and blend that in. This step is crucial for me. I feel like if I go in with the sponge, it just looks way better. Okay, next step is concealer. You're gonna want to go in with the most full coverage products you have, and one of my most full coverage concealers is the Hourglass Vanish concealer. I am using the shade Fawn. So I'm gonna go ahead and apply that. And I am going to let this sit just to extend its longevity, and allowing your concealer to sit before blending it out right away. It just adds a little more coverage. Okay, I'm going to go in with my second spritz of the SKINDINAVIA spray. I'm blending my concealer with the sponges that I've mentioned before. They're called I'm Pineapple from Amazon. I have dampened this so it has expanded in size, and I'm just going to go ahead and blend my concealer. And I make sure to pat, not to swipe, because that will get rid of the coverage. Hopefully you guys can see I am patting in place. And I always make sure to just bring the concealer down. This just adds more coverage to your face if need be, but I just make sure to bring it down and just keep blending. You want to make sure you pat all these liquid products in, swiping, which is something I've made the mistake of doing before. It just lifts all your foundation and all your coverage will just virtually be swept away. So just make sure you're patting. It does seem more like tedious and time consuming, but it is worth it, you guys, promise. Okay, now that my blush is on, we're gonna go ahead and set our under eyes. Now I'm gonna be using the LAWLESS Seal the Deal Loose Setting Powder. Use whatever powder you like, and I'm gonna go in with a like puff like this. And then we're just gonna go in and pat again, pat. Because if your concealer is not set, it is most likely wet, so swiping is just going to lift the product. And even though you might have a lot of creases, my biggest tip with dry skin girls would be less is more with powder. Start off small and just keep using until you are happy with how it looks. Do not go in with a cloud of powder from the beginning. So that is the difference. This is set, that is unset. Now that our under eye is set, this is where I continue adding coverage. Now, this is something you can choose to not do if you feel like you don't need it. However, I like to add extra coverage if I'm going for like maximum full coverage. Like I want full coverage, flawless, this is what I do. So I go in with the MAC Studio Fix powder in the shade NC20. Now a mistake I used to make is I would go in with a puff like this, and I feel like that what that would do is that would make me look cakey. So I had to learn the very hard way that the best thing to do is to apply minimal amount of this and just start off super slow and then just add very, very small amounts. Like again, I am dry, so I don't like to powder when it's not necessary, but this powder adds a lot of coverage, and that is something we're going for. So you want to try and take a brush that's not super dense, so I wouldn't suggest taking something like this, for example, because it's just going to pack on too much product and then you're applying too much of that onto one area and then it'll result in dry patches, which has happened to me before. So I'm going in with a brush called the e.l.f. highlighter brush, and this is very loose, so there's all the bristles are very spaced out and fanned out. So I'm going to go in with literally a tap of this and just apply very minimally. So I'm just going and applying it to my forehead, then to the nose, smile lines, and I'm making sure that I barely touch, like, and I make sure not to do any swiping because the foundation is most likely still wet, so it will result in smearing and lifting, and that is how I always end up looking cakey because I made mistakes like that. Now, if you do this in very light amounts, you will not look flat and matte. That is something I would be worried of because I am particularly dry and I don't want all the glow of my like skin to go away. But I do feel like this step helps a lot if you're just wanting to add some more coverage. It does wonders if you do it correctly for your skin at least. That is done, and I still feel like I have some dimension to my skin. I don't look flat and matte. I still see some glow coming through, but I have definitely added more coverage, and I can see that because now all my spots are gone and like everything just looks smooth and flawless. So this is what I am looking like so far. I'm zoomed in for you guys to see how everything is looking. This is just with the MAC powder set. So I'm gonna go ahead and complete the rest of my makeup because it doesn't really apply to the full coverage glam that I'm trying to show here, and I will be right back. Okay, so I wasn't recording. I thought I was, but I wasn't, so I was just talking to myself for no reason. I went ahead and applied the last spritz of this setting spray, therefore that is why I look a little damp and stuff. So that is what I did, and I'm gonna allow this to dry, and I'm gonna go ahead and apply mascara and lipstick, and I will be back. Okay, you guys, I have finished my makeup, and I just wanted to come on and do the outro for you guys and just go ahead and explain some stuff. So as you guys can tell, I look pretty glowy for someone who's applied powder and for someone who skin always typically drinks everything up, and I feel like all these products in combination are what give me this look. Aside from where I have highlighter on, the areas that I've set still remain to have some life. They do not look flat and matte, but I still feel like my makeup is gonna stay on all night right now, and I love how this looks. My face looks so healthy. I feel like I could be sweating and this will just stay as is. Now, if you're someone who doesn't like to look as glowy as I do right now, like I said, this look can be catered to. You can go ahead and just set areas that you particularly feel like you're a little more glowy than you're liking. So just to show you guys, I went ahead and set my nose a little more and my chin and a little bit above my eyebrows, and I still feel like I have some life. I do not look dry, I still look glowy, but I have like full coverage. To achieve some sort of glowiness and to have full coverage is not something that typically goes hand in hand. I feel like you either have to choose one or the other, and I used to always sacrifice looking more dry when I wanted full coverage, but I feel like now I have mastered my own special little routine that I feel like I can always turn to when I need my makeup to be full coverage, long wearing, but look healthy and, you know, glowy. So this was that video. I hope this is something you guys find helpful and something that you liked. I'm gonna go ahead and do a close-up just so you can see how everything is looking, like the texture and everything of my skin as well. So here we are zoomed in, you guys. This is how my skin is looking. Now, typically when I do zoom-ins for my videos in the past, you guys can see a lot of my skin texture, and I feel this kind of coverage is what I consider to be pretty full. I think this is like not something I would definitely do for day to day, but I love looks like this because I feel like they don't make me feel super heavy and caked up. I did put a lot of foundation on, and I did put a lot of products on, more than I typically do day to day, but I feel like there is an element of this being super lightweight. I don't feel like dry or heavy or cakey at all. So I love this look. This is something I have just recently discovered, and I had to learn how to do this look through a lot of trial and effort, you guys. I have looked cakey and dry at a lot of functions, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people will tell you that, but I just love how this looks. And this look can be achieved with any kind of products. You do not have to use specifically what I've used, but I would say just use the methods, like in terms of use a certain setting, like use setting spray throughout, make sure you're using a drier concealer. The blending methods or ways that I mentioned are great to use as well, so you don't have to necessarily use every single thing I used if it's not something you already have. So yeah, I thought that would be really fun to show. This is a video that I would have loved to watch when I was in need of something like this, exactly with the look I wanted. I feel like I couldn't really find something like that, so I thought I would go ahead and put this out into the YouTube world because I'm sure someone else out there would like to achieve a look like this as well. So yeah, I love it so much. I hope you guys did too, and I'll go ahead and see you guys next time. Bye.